It takes a special breed of self-serving egomania to masquerade as selfless public service to run for president. And the majority of people keep falling for these power-hungry, status-seeking phonies we never seem to learn. And I say we because I still fall for celebrity hype from time to time, but the older I get, the easier it is to catch myself and stop. But apparently not everyone can seem to do this. And Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump are almost textbook examples of the kind of egotism and narcissism it takes to run for president. And that's not a distinction without a difference. The difference is important, especially when it comes to how it affects the rest of our lives when people like this get into power. While egotists want people to admire them, narcissists have an excessive need for others to praise them. They shower themselves with affection and expect others to do the same. And narcissists love to show off. But maybe the most important difference is narcissists lack empathy for others, much like psychopaths, since all psychopaths are narcissists, but not necessarily all narcissists are psychopaths. And yet egotists don't believe it is rational or moral to put others' interests before their own. And if you really want to see how these differences can be easily spotted, just look at the books that Vivek and Trump have had published, not to mention what the books are actually about. In the case of Vivek, his books do not have his face plastered on the cover or even the back. Yet Trump's books are quite different. His face and name are practically the titles. That's how a narcissist operates. And as far as writing these books, Trump is known for employing ghostwriters. In other words, he doesn't have anything of real substance he seems to really want to communicate to people. He just wants to be as famous as possible. He needs to be adored. And quite possibly, he needs to feel like he's above everyone else. At least Vivek wrote his own books. And his books take on major social issues that affect the country as a whole, which is a good thing. Yet Vivek's books almost read like someone who is pushing conservative platitudes as if he's been pandering to a voting base for years in advance, which kind of makes him come across as an egomaniac gunning for the presidency when he's never held any public office before. And this is what we need to be more careful about, the ulterior motives of egotists and especially narcissists and how they will affect us down the line, especially if they manage to become president. Because if you really want to see just how negatively impactful one man's ego and narcissism can be, look no further than January 6th and the lasting effects that single day has had on our nation. It's bad enough that thousands of people showed up to the Capitol that day after they had been convinced to believe a lie about a stolen election that had been repeated to them for months. And from those thousands who showed up, a few hundred got arrested for the dumbest reasons. And of those hundreds who broke into the Capitol, one of them got killed that day. And mass hysteria like this is possible for a simple reason, which happens to be one of humanity's greatest flaws. The majority of people are incapable of thinking for themselves. And that's because we've been hardwired through millions of years of evolution to be tribal. Even before recorded history, tribalism is what kept people alive. Not just from other tribes, but simply from larger animals that preyed on humans. Without turning this into a National Geographic documentary, the point is we are inextricably interdependent upon one another for our survival. And this is how and why it's so difficult for many people to think independently. Yet the irony is, when someone has the nerve to break free from the herd mentality, many people will look to that person and think, hey, let's follow that person instead. Especially if that person is rich and famous and seems to live a lifestyle most people can only dream for themselves. Which is why Donald Trump has an allegiance of so many die-hard loyalists who he will turn on in an instant if they disagree with him or simply say anything he interprets as a disagreement. And it's interesting just how difficult it is to make these people see the error of their ways, let alone that of who they're blindly following. Until we as a species can figure out how to truly govern ourselves without the need for leaders such as presidents, and much less dictators, we need to learn how to deal with these types of people who claim they want to humbly serve the public when they're really just in it for themselves. Now, I do not want to see Joe Biden get reelected, and much less do I care to vote for Michelle Obama and let alone Gavin Newsom, once the daggers come out among the den of truly egotistical, narcissistic vipers which make up the modern-day Democrat Party. Their shameless opportunism is why so many people prefer to see Trump become president again, despite knowing the human hand grenade that he is. Yet while I would prefer seeing Vivek become president instead of Trump, let alone Biden, I am quite disturbed by Vivek's disingenuousness when it comes to covering up the irreparable harm Trump caused our nation with January 6 alone. And this is where Vivek's egotism really shows. This is where we can clearly see he is not about the truth that he's been slapping on his website and podiums on his campaign trail. And if you need any more proof of Vivek's egotism that might be confused for narcissism, just check out the rap stylings of the Vivek as he's been on the campaign trail.
Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. Oh, he won't back that he knows his own bad that he's broke. His own bad that he's broke. He don't bad but he's broke. He's so sad.
It's bad enough Trump should not become president again after exhibiting such a criminal level of recklessness and negligence that was January 6. But no one who tries to defend January 6 should be president either. But what really makes it disturbing is that Vivek is doing this simply to win over Trump's supporters, instead of trying to convince them that kind of thinking and behavior is a danger to our nation. January 6 embodies the very kind of tactics one witnesses in a third world banana republic, which Vivek himself has been warning about the United States turning into. If it is true that Biden is trying to use the Department of Justice to eliminate an opponent, that's not a good thing. But neither are all the incredibly stupid moves Trump has been making since he lost the 2020 election, which invites that level of scrutiny and criminal indictments. You're clearly not about the truth at that point. You're in it for yourself. And Vivek's ideas aren't that great either. It doesn't seem wise to spend over $15 million of your own money to push ideas like having a civics test for people under the age of 25 to earn the right to vote, which would disenfranchise millions of young voters, especially when we need to get rid of many of the ossified octogenarians in the Senate, such as Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi, who are supposedly serving the nation past the age of 80. I wish these people, whether they're from the left or the right, would just step down and give younger people a chance. And one way to do that is not by making younger people take a civics test, but instead implementing ranked choice voting, which gives people the ability to vote for more than one candidate by ranking their vote in terms of first choice, second choice, third choice, etc. And it's been proven how ranked choice voting helps eliminate the false binary choice between a Democrat or a Republican. You can actually vote for both in a sense. Just one will be your first choice, the other will be your second. And it is still a democratic process because whoever gets the most votes wins. Yet it would help us break past that duopoly system of government that we have between Democrats and Republicans. Because most importantly, it helps eliminate the faulty voting behavior where people don't vote for who or what they believe in, but instead vote for the candidate who's most likely to win so they don't feel like they're wasting their vote. So many better candidates have been dismissed outright because of this problem, which ranked choice voting could help fix. This goes to show that either Vivek doesn't understand the inherent problems we have with voting in our country, or he may not care as much as he's making himself seem to. Because if this Wall Street Journal article is accurate about Vivek's voting history, where he supposedly did not vote for any presidential candidates between the years 2004 and 2020, that's not a good look about someone trying to push a civics test on people under the age of 25 to earn something that is already a citizen's right. Yet bad ideas like mandating a civics test to vote or trying to overturn an entire election aren't surprising coming from the kind of people who seek power and status, and that no amount of wealth is ever enough to enjoy their lives and help those around them, because they're most likely unnaturally obsessed with power. They seem so obsessed with being in charge of their own lives that they need to be in charge of other people's lives as well. After all, it's not exactly money that they're after, though I wouldn't be surprised if both Vivek and Trump ran the numbers with their team of accountants to see how much money they would actually make back after spending tens of millions of dollars of their own money for a job that wouldn't pay more than $4 million in salary if they even served out a full 2 terms. Because if Barack Obama and Bill Clinton managed to become multimillionaires after their 2 terms as presidents, not to mention so many of their closest staff members who also managed to double and even triple their net worths after their bosses' presidencies, surely monetary incentives factor in somehow. Yet Donald Trump was well worth at least $1 billion before running for president, and Vivek Ramaswamy has a net worth of over $500 million, and he's not even 40 years old. So what would possess such people to want to run for president instead of taking their money and enjoying their lives with their families? Why take on that inordinate amount of pressure? Clearly, people who stake their fortune and lives to take on that kind of pressure are a special breed of human. They're beyond overachievers. And to a certain extent, it's a good thing that some people want to take that responsibility on, because it's a tough job that not everybody wants to do and not everybody should do, but someone's got to do it. But that doesn't mean we need to worship these people either and overlook the egotism and narcissism that drives them to be in such positions of power in the first place, especially considering the lasting and often negative effects that ego and narcissism can have on the rest of us. If I got anything wrong in this video, please let me know in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for upcoming videos, and check out the links below for my original art and merchandise. And thanks for watching.